Hey, it's Bronze Age Nerd, and it's Monday, so you know what that means. It's time for another mail call. All right, so the last couple weeks it's been pretty light because a ton of stuff got delayed. So over the last few weeks, a lot of stuff that I've had on order is starting to roll in now. Got a lot of stuff to get to, so let's just get right to it. First of all, I watched the last episode of WandaVision tonight, and this one's pretty appropriate for that. I picked up two appearances, first full appearances of Monica Rambeau. So two Amazing Spider-Man annual number 16s there. I got one newsstand and one direct. So I feel really good about Monica Rambeau's character. I feel like WandaVision really set her up for whatever might come next in Captain Marvel. I'll stay really vague on the spoilers as much as I can, but I think she's going to be in the MCU for a while. So with that in mind, may as well pick up those appearances now while you still can. There'll probably be a little bit of a dip at some point because she probably isn't going to be on screen for a while, but once that's over, it's going to be off to the races on her, I think. All right, so the next batch of comics I picked up from one of my favorite Instagram sellers, that comic book guy on Instagram. Picked up a Marvel Chillers #1. So, a little bit more WandaVision spec, right? It's been confirmed that Quake is coming back to the MCU, or going to continue to appear in the MCU from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. So I got her first appearance, Secret War #2. I think at this point, any MCU stuff, it's going to have at least a little a little heat on it in the very beginning. So why not? I also picked up first cameo of Abigail Brand and Sword. And I'm getting ready for the Loki series with the first appearance of Morbius. And I believe it's also his first cover appearance, because I think that's him, basically. So the TVA, which is going to be a big deal in that show, starting to pick up some of those books right now. And I've already showed you one of these, but I had all three together because it's just more impressive that way. But I now have 3 copies of the Mighty Avengers #1, which is the first appearance of Monica Rambeau as Spectrum. And I hoped we'd get a Spectrum name drop somewhere in WandaVision. I think that's still a pretty good bet. I mean, it's either going to be Photon or Spectrum at this point, unless, hear me out, what if what they do in Captain Marvel 2 is what some people have already theorized, and they bring in Rogue and have Rogue do what she did in the comics, and that is take Carol Danvers' powers. She was Miss Marvel at the time. And that's how she gains her typical powers that she's associated with, her flight, her invulnerability, her strength, by absorbing most of Carol Danvers' personality. Well, if that happened, and if it happens like it did in the comics, Carol Danvers would exit the MCU, at least for a while, in a main role, you would think, unless she appears as a psychic personality like she did in the comics for a while. And that would mean Rogue would take some pretty big center stage. Also, Monica Rambeau could take over as Captain Marvel. So that's a lot of what if, but it easily could happen. And since it's a possibility that Rogue could appear, I decided to get a couple Rogue keys. So ROM Space Knight 31 and Uncanny X-Men 158. And both of these are tied for, or pretty darn close to tied, for being Rogue's second appearance and first cover appearances. She appears as a silhouette mystery figure on Avengers Annual 10. That cover right there, though, I mean, if you're going to go after a Rogue key and you don't want to get Avengers Annual 10, that's a pretty good one to go after, because that's a pretty iconic, she's punching Wolverine, he's flying at the cover, it's a great cover. So that's a good one to go after, and I thought, hey, why not? I also picked up from the same seller, this is all from the same seller, a comic that I've been looking for a while and have had a really hard time locating, Uncanny X-Men 268. I never had a copy of this, even when I had a more extensive Uncanny X-Men run before I sold most of my collection at one point a few years back. Never had a copy of that. I did encounter it a couple times back in the day, but I didn't really know the significance of it. There's a lot of speculation that could be one way in which they introduced Wolverine into the MCU. There's a lot of rumors about Chris Evans coming back as Captain America for at least a cameo appearance in a future Captain America film. And there's people saying, hey, it could be the flashback to World War II and the whole, Black Widow, Wolverine, Captain America fighting together thing, which is where that story debuts. So trying to spec hard and or spec smart and not hard. And those comics are cool and they don't really go for too much. I picked up these from two different sellers, but I'll show them at the same time. They were both eBay purchases. There's a lot of news about Daredevil is going to be coming back to the MCU, and apparently in a new costume. And so I picked up a couple issues that are going to be kind of interesting if you're looking for Daredevil villains that could be introduced that we haven't seen yet. Mr. Fear. So this is the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first appearance of the second Mr. Fear. And who knows who's going to play in him. But I got a newsstand and a direct edition. It's Marvel Team Up 92. So the first appearance of Mr. Fear. All right, next up, I just neglected to pre-order this comic when it came out, the A cover, and it was like a few dollars more to get 5 copies. So get on that Red X train, I guess. 5 copies of Teen Titans #2. All right, so I still have stuff that's trickling in from the last parts of my orders that are coming from Things from Another World. I still will occasionally continue to use Things from Another World, it looks like, because occasionally I want to get something in at the last minute and not pay extra for shipping. I have monthly shipments set up with them, so I am going to continue to get some stuff from Things from Another World occasionally. But I'd already had a lot of pre-orders set up, and there's a lot of stuff that's been delayed with them, so I got some of that stuff in on this order. So I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 113. Got some Lady Death comics that finally came in that I've had on order for a while. So there's that one. That's a Nightmare Symphony #1 Raw Edition, limited to 400. I always will try to grab Sun Kaminaki covers whenever I can. So this is Blasphemy Anthem 2 of 2, and an excellent Sun K cover. And then I got the Blasphemy Anthem 2 of 2 Premium Foil Edition as well. So I don't know if I can pick up the foil. Oh, I can kind of pick up the foil there, but just another cool Lady Death cover. And then I got 3 second printings of Gwenom vs. Carnage #1, the Inyuk Lee cover, because I never got any of the first printing. And if there's any hope on that cover, then great. Hopefully that does well. Picked up my last Ronin #2. And then I got one of the Star Wars Insider magazines you've seen floating around probably at this point. I don't know where that thing's going to go. I pre-ordered it because it was cheap at the time, and I thought there was a good chance that maybe that would be a Grogu key appearance. I think we're definitely going to have to wait and see what the market values when it comes to Grogu. There's a comic I'd love to pick up right now that's a Star Wars Tales comic. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. That has a Yoda Grogu species child, a baby, appearing in a nursery at the Jedi Temple. So I'd love to get that too. There's some spec that, hey, that could be a retcon for Grogu being at the Jedi Temple. The timeline does sort of match up, so that'd be interesting. And then from MERC magazine, I picked up a copy of Death Rage #1, and I went with the candy cover just because Jamie Tyndall does some cool work, and that's a pretty cool classic kind of Jamie Tyndall cover right there. So last but certainly not least, I got a Comics Elite shipment in. This is one I've been waiting for a long time now. It was delayed because one issue in this didn't come out till very recently. I ordered this back in December. So this was a comic book pre-order I ordered back in December, and it's now arriving in March. And I'm going to go through this pretty fast because there's a lot of stuff here. Amazing Spider-Man. Batman Adventures Continue. It's so funny getting Christmas themed covers in March, but that's what I was after at the time. 4 copies of the McFarlane Spawn crossover cover. I got The Walking Dead, where she's reading the Walking Dead comic. Cyberforce, where she's reading the Cyberforce comic. Shadowhawk, the Savage Dragon. And since I ordered 5, I did qualify for the 1 in 5. At the time I ordered this, I actually didn't know what the different cover options were going to be, but this is one I got of the Spawn, which ended up kind of being the coolest one in my opinion. Future State Dark Detective, issue 1. Boom. The other cover for that one. Justice League number 1. You can tell, I mean, these feel a little old, right? I mean, they are at this point. They've got some age on them. Future State Wonder Woman. I actually didn't know I ordered another copy of that. That's kind of cool. I like that cover a lot. That's Superman of Metropolis number 1. Superman Wonder Woman 1. And then got that Swamp Thing, which is kind of cool, right? Like, this is actually kind of a book that people are kind of seeking out right now. And I had one coming all along, but just didn't have it in hand. This one, I ordered a couple copies of this because I thought it must have been slightly more important, which I think it's just a new Flash, or it was theorized to be a new Flash. I don't even know if that's what happened in that one. Next Batman 1. Is that the Jim Lee cover? And the A cover. It's funny because a lot of these I actually, like this, I have a few other copies of this, but I just ordered one from them too. But I went 2 on that, which I don't think I ordered any of those from Things from Another World, so those might be my first 2 copies of that. Gosh, another throwback to a few months ago, the Aliens covers, right? And I wonder, with the new Alien series coming from Marvel, I wonder if those are gonna kind of find some new life, if it's any good, you know. The throwback style cover for Mortal Hulk 42. Alien cover for Iron Man. I think this is the A cover for Gwen vs. Carnage. Namor 3. Planet of the Symbiotes, number 1. I think that's Kyle Hotz. Thunderbolts. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, the Alien cover. Okay, now another, it's kind of a funny, it's like a little time travel machine here. So it's like, what if you could go back in time and buy some Star Wars High Republic comics for $2.09 a piece? Well, so it's just funny. I've known those were coming. I mean, I've already submitted other copies of those that I also pre-ordered from a different company to CGC. So that's pretty funny. And then I got 3 of the Venom covers, which I actually have maybe 8 of those now. And then here's the bad boy that caused the entire thing to get held up. Wolverine Black, White, and Blood, number 3. And that's one that has the Cosmic Ghost Rider story in it, too. It's written by Donny Cates. So, all right. Truly an enormous pile of comics this week. I don't think there's going to be a week like that again for some time. So, pretty neat. A lot of stuff, really cool to get that Swamp Thing and those Star Wars comics. Like, I've known they were coming for a while now, but it's nice to have them finally here. A comic's been out for months now. It's just kind of funny. I'm a little irritated with that too, because I definitely could have submitted some of these copies with my pre-screen that those copies went off with, and maybe in the long run I'd lose some money on that. I'm not furious about it or anything. They say right up front, like, hey, if any of your comics are delayed, everything in the shipment will come when that happens. I think at a certain point they need to kind of bend those rules, especially if you buy a lot from them every week. I'm definitely going to be pulling back my pre-orders on moderns. Like I'm not seeing the long-term bubble last as long as maybe some other people are. And a lot of the stuff I buy, it is first appearances, it is key issues. I think they'll have some value, and I'm willing to hold a lot of these a much longer term than quick flippers are, which can work to my advantage. There's some of these that I will probably try to start selling soon. And you know, I'm just straight up, I'm flipping some of these. Same thing I've always said on this channel. I am buying comics right now mostly to sell later. There are exceptions, because there is essentially a golden list of comics that I want to end up with, and my whole goal is to use my comic knowledge to try to make money to buy those comics. And then I have an extra, like, you know, tier of comics I'm cool with owning, and you know, I like the covers, I like the personal significance of them, even though they're not worth anything. But you know, saving up for those really expensive keys, you gotta make some money somehow. And I don't want my day job to be working for my hobby. I want my hobby to work for my hobby. So that's kind of the idea. Anyways, thanks for following along with yet another Monday mail call. Hopefully you enjoyed the comics I got. Let me know down in the comments below what you were scoping out the most and what you thought was the neatest. You know, definitely some cool ones in there, especially towards the beginning, as those were very selected purchases and things that I'm holding on to, as opposed to just pre-orders of modern books. You know, I'm excited for the future of Monica Rambeau in the MCU. I really hope that becomes an important a character in that cinematic universe, and I think it will be. I'm excited to see Quake back. I think I'm blanking, Chloe Bennett. She did a great job as Quake, so it's gonna be interesting to see her develop into something later on. I'm excited to see Daredevil back. You know, I'm a big Marvel fan, so seeing these projects come back is pretty cool. You know, a lot of the Netflix and ABC stuff totally got shoved aside, and some of it deserved to be, for sure, but I really liked Charlie Cox as Daredevil. You know, I didn't like some of the stories that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. told. I didn't think they were that engaging. They felt very much like a TV show. But I liked the characters. I think the characters were cool. And you know, I'd like to see them move on. I mean, like, we all like Coulson in Avengers, and we liked him in Captain Marvel when he shows up in a cameo, and why not? Let's see more of that. So that's pretty cool. So thanks again for watching, and I just want to remind you, as always, hey, read comics every day.